Good evening. Welcome tonight to our notes on the Declaration of Independence. Our inquiry question is, how does the Declaration of Independence establish our basic rights and outline the causes of the American Revolution? This is connected to Power Standard 1, which is a new power standard, where you will need to understand and be able to analyze and explain the key ideals of the Declaration of Independence. Let's begin. So a little bit of background on the Declaration of Independence. It was written by a man named Thomas Jefferson, who would later go on to become our third president. He was known for his graceful writing style, and throughout the Declaration, he explains why the colonists wanted to break away from British rule. Thomas Jefferson, to begin, sat down to write the Declaration almost completely on his own, and the Declaration that we have today is very close to his first draft. Through the Congress, they made some small changes, mainly to a few words and some changes related to slavery. But most of what we have is what Thomas Jefferson wrote on his first time going through and just sitting down and writing, why do the colonies want to separate from England? The Declaration is broken into 3 parts, and we'll get into these parts more tomorrow in class. But the first part of the Declaration of Independence outlines the natural rights. It talks about how society should be, how government should be, and the role of government within society. Some key pieces within the Declaration that will come up time and time again throughout our history is all men are created equal. This comes directly out of the Declaration of Independence. All men are created equal, even though at this time we don't see everyone treated equal. But it will be because of this line that over time we get the push for the ending of slavery. We get the push for women's suffrage, because everyone should be treated equal according to the Declaration of Independence. It also talks about that we are endowed by our creators with certain unalienable rights. These are rights that cannot be taken away by government, by people. These are things you're born with. And according to the Declaration of Independence, we are born with the right to life, so we're born with the right to live. No government should be able to take that away from you. No individual should be able to take your right to live away from you. You're also guaranteed the right to liberty or freedom. What does that freedom look like is a debate that comes up time and time again. What's the role of government and where does that freedom stand? And then finally, you have the right to pursue happiness. You don't have the right to be happy, you have the right to pursue happiness in the way you see fit. It also says that if the government should violate these rights, the people, the citizens of the United States of America have the right to abolish these type of governments that take away your rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And this is why they are separating from England. The second part of the Declaration of Independence is a list of grievances. This is the formal complaints against the king. These are the reasons why we think we need to be separated from England. Just a few, and we'll get into these and look at all 28 of them tomorrow in class. But it talks about how the king was depriving the colonists of trial by jury. It talks about imposing taxes without the consent of the colonists. We saw this time and time again, the Sugar Act, the Stamp Act, the Tea Act. And it talks about how the king ignored the petitions from the colonists to make changes. This is the meat of the Declaration of Independence. It's the middle part, part 2, which is the majority of the writing of the Declaration. It's just a list of these are things that the king has done, and this is why we should be separated. Finally, it ends with dissolving of the bonds. The last piece of the Declaration of Independence is where they directly say, we are declaring our independence. We are our own country now. We are the United States of America. and all connections with Britain are dissolved or gotten rid of. We are not a part of England anymore. We are our own country. However, this was a very dangerous thing to be saying. Benjamin Franklin, one of the oldest members to sign the Declaration of Independence, famously states, "We must all hang together, or most assuredly we shall all hang separately." In other words, he's saying that we need to stand together. All 13 colonies need to stand together. Everyone putting their name on the Declaration of Independence needs to stand together to resist and fight against the British. Because if we don't, we're going to be hanged by the king. Every single person who put their name on the Declaration of Independence put their life on the line. If the United States would have lost the war, each one of these people would have been charged with treason, which is punishable by death. So just by simply putting their name on the Declaration, they were putting their life on the line, ready to defend what they saw as a new country that was going to stand on those rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, as you look through at our inquiry question, we see, how does the Declaration establish our basic rights? Our basic rights are the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness given to us by a Creator, and that all men, people, are created equal. When they say men, it does not mean man, it means all of mankind. And then how does it outline the causes of the revolution? There's 28 grievances. Each of these grievances ties to a cause of the revolution based on what the king has done in previous years. Tomorrow in class, we will actually be reading the Declaration of Independence. We will be breaking it down. We will be identifying key pieces. Have a good evening.